Our homes are becoming progressively smarter in that we have more and more smart devices and accessories that we can control with our phones or with our voices through smart speakers such as those from Google, Apple and Amazon, or even through triggers and automations where devices speak to each other. Specifically today, I'm going to focus on lighting and whether or not you would choose a smart switch or a smart bulb to provide the lighting in your house. In this house, we have definitely embraced smart technology. That's one of the reasons why I have this channel, because I love new toys and gadgets and particularly enjoy getting them to work together, which I'll touch on a little bit in this video. But let me give you a very, very brief tour of some of the elements we have around this house, just so you have an idea of the kind of things that we use at the moment. I'll start outside. We use Arlo cameras for our CCTV. Now, this is a combination of Arlo Ultras and Arlo Pros. So the Ultras are 4K and the Pros are 1080p. They are motion activated, so they record short excerpts of video when somebody walks into a predefined area. They're all stored in the cloud and we can access them on our phones, and also we get notifications when they are triggered. What most people don't seem to realise as well about the Arlo is because you can link them into Apple Home, and I'm an Apple user, so apologies to Android users. I don't understand fully how your system works, but I imagine it's pretty comparable. But in Apple Home, it can see the Arlo cameras, so it will bring up the feed of the video, but it will also use the Arlo cameras as motion sensors to activate other devices, which I'm going to come on to, because when you start talking about lighting, those elements are quite good, particularly if you have an outdoor light that you can remote control by motion, which is spotted by the Arlo cameras. It all works seamlessly together. It's brilliant. So also outside we have a Ring Pro doorbell. Honestly, if I had to choose one gadget in the entire house that we had to keep if all the rest had to go, it would be the Ring Pro doorbell. The Ring doorbell is brilliant to be able to see what's happening around the front of your house, also being able to see who's at your front door if you're not in, leave messages. You probably know the benefits of the digital doorbells, but they really are worth the money. They're absolutely spectacular. Moving inside the house, we also have an automated door lock. So this is activated by a number of things actually. You can go into the app and set it so it's based on distance. Once you can add a Bluetooth range of it, it will lock the door. You can set it so it's operated by Siri on your phone, which has to be unlocked by you, which is either do through facial recognition, or if it's on your watch, then obviously it's self-sensing your pulse, so therefore it's secure. Or of course you can just use a key. But it's great if someone comes around, say a family member, and you're out, you can let them in remotely. So I must admit, that's been a really quite a cool accessory. But from a smart point of view, the things that we use the most are of course lights. And so we had to make quite a few decisions around the house about whether or not we should have smart bulbs or smart switches. So let me explain the difference. So a smart bulb, probably the biggest manufacturer in the game is Philps with their Hue range. Now, essentially, this is a bulb that is either in a light or in a wall fitting or a ceiling fitting that is powered all the time. It's on all the time. So you don't turn it off. There's no switch to turn off. There's always power going to the bulb, and then the bulb turns itself on and off. So that's activated by either your phone. We're using the Hue app, which is very good. On there you can choose an array of colours. You can choose an array of moods if you link various lights together. And also you can set automations. So there's software on there, for example, so that if you go on holiday, you can tell it you're on holiday and it will do random turn on and offs throughout your house to make it look like somebody's in. Cool feature, but that's only through the Hue app. Alternatively, the great thing about Philips Hue is it's compatible with all of the smart speakers, and not everything is. So that will work with the Amazon device, which I won't name because there's one over there, with the Apple devices, which of course you can do with your phone. You can always say, hey, you know, to your phone, and likewise with Google. So if you've got one of the Google hubs at home, or likewise if you're using an Android phone, you can just say Google and then ask it to turn on the lights in one of the rooms and it will do it. The great thing about the Hue as well is they come in an array of colours. I don't mean the colour of the bulb itself, I mean the colour of the actual light. So you can either buy them so they're white, so it's just on and off basically. Then there's warm white and cool white, which is great if you say if you're in a kitchen. If you're entertaining, you might want it on warm. If you're cooking, you might want it on cool, where it's nice and clean looking white. Or you can get something like this, which this has, according to Philips, 16 million different colour choices, which you choose by either using the app or using your voice. So you can turn around and say to the Amazon device, for example, turn the kitchen light red, and it will turn the kitchen lights red. In this room, for example, we have 9 Hue GU10 spotlight bulbs. So in here, if I now test this, I will turn around and say, Alexa, turn the family room red. And there you go, it's turned the family room red. So that's quite a cool option. It's really good to know that it can do that. The challenge you've got is traditionally when people walk into a room to turn a light on, they flick a switch. And when you've got a smart bulb like that, you can't have people flicking the switch. So you have to replace that with something else. So what you have to do is, for example, is something like this. Now this is a plastic cover that I've screwed over the top of the existing light switch. So the light switch is on underneath, and then this cover goes over the top. And what the cover then holds is a remote control. Now they've slightly updated this now, so there is a slightly smoother looking version of this available, but essentially the device is the same. So what this does is this allows you to turn the lights on and off and up and down with regards brightness. You can program the buttons to do other things, but to be fair, it gets a bit confusing when anybody other than a resident of the house wants to turn the light on and off. So on this one, you press it once. As you can see in this room, it's just turned on 9 Philps Hue spotlights, GU10 spotlights. So there's all these different modes that as you go through, it will actually go on different color cycles, and you program all that using the Hue app, which is quite a cool feature. And it's definitely one of the plus points of having smart bulbs that have color changing opportunities, but you can only buy bulbs in regular bulb shaped. So this one, for example, is one of the candlelight bulbs with a little small screw, or then you've got a regular screw in or a regular pin, or your GU10s like this. But once you get into small little bulbs like the GU4s, you're not going to find a smart version of those, in which case smart bulbs aren't an option for you, which brings you on to option number 2. Now when it comes to smart switches, there's actually quite a few options on the market. The one we went with are the Lightwave RF dimmers. So these are the 2nd generation ones. And the difference between the 1st gen and the 2nd gen is the 1st gen were just one-way communication. Now what that means is that if you're using the app on your phone and you sent a turn light on signal, it would send it and you'd never know if it received it. That meant that it didn't work with HomeKit, because Apple are really specific on their HomeKit devices being two-way, so it can report whether or not something's actually worked. So the 2nd generation were two-way communication. So you press turn light on the app, it sent the signal to the switch would then ideally turn the light on, and it would send a signal back to the phone saying I've turned the light on. So you could see on the Home app or the Lightwave app that the light has actually come on. So from a smart switch point of view, their objective is very straightforward. It's the opportunity to replace a normal on-off light switch with something that you control, again, with voice or smart device or an app or smart speaker or one of those. What you want to be aiming for is something that's as compatible as possible. So I said, I use Lightwave because one, they're not super expensive. It's about £60 per single switch, jumping up to £90 or £100 for a double gang, and they do promotions and sales all the time. But within that, I can control it with my iPhone just by asking Siri. I can control it with the Echo devices. I can control it with the Google device. Everything works with it, and that compatibility is really important because that's not the case with all of them. Amazon, for example, I'm pretty sure do their own smart switches, but I would imagine that very few of them are going to be HomeKit compatible because it's not their marketplace. They want you to buy an Amazon product. The most interesting one I've seen in 2022 is the GE C-Start smart switch, which has got a motion sensor and a dimmer. And again, it's a smart switch and it works across all of them. Haven't looked at the pricing on them, but it's quite interesting. What also is advantageous, and it's got quite a distinct upper hand over a lot of them, is that you don't need a hub. Because when you're using Lightwave, you will need a Lightwave hub somewhere in your house hardwired with an Ethernet port onto your network. And so when you're using the switches or the app, it's actually communicating with the hub, which then communicates with the lights. Likewise, Philips Hues only work with a hub. Now, thankfully, some of the smart assistants these days actually include a hub that's compatible, which is great. So, well done, Amazon, with that one. But bear that in mind, you will maybe have to accessorize. So, as I said, in short, do I recommend smart switches and smart bulbs? Absolutely. A light switch is fine, but it's great to be able to be out and know that when the house is empty, you can randomly turn lights on and off, say if you're staying away. Or if you're using the Philips Hue app, you can get the app to do it for you. Advantage as well is, said, is touched on right at the beginning of the intro, is getting the devices to talk to each other. Now, for example, around the side of our house, we have one of the Arlo cameras. So therefore, it's recording any motion and sending it to the app, like I mentioned, but also it works as a motion sensor. So by using the Apple Home app, which of course is installed on every iPhone, Mac, iPad, every device basically, including Apple TV, what I can do is I can actually trigger an automation. So when you're on the Home app, if you just go open it and then go down to automation, you can set things in there. So in amongst that, I have it set that if it senses motion on that camera at the side of the house, it will turn on the Lightwave switch, which is inside the house, which controls the light, which is near the camera. So somebody walks in, say it's me, if I'm going out to the garage, or if somebody comes into the down the side of the house, then the camera will see them. It sends a motion signal to the Home app, which then sends it to the to the Lightwave hub, which then sends it to the switch, which tells the switch to turn the light on. And I've set it on the automation, so it turns off after 1 minute if there isn't continued motion. Stuff like that's really clever. And I know that sounded quite complicated, but it's really, really not. And it's dead easy to set up. And the Philps Hues work in the same way. If the camera at the back of the house sees motion, then that turns on the Philps Hue strip that we have attached to the veranda at the back of the house and lights it up, which is great when the dog goes out, for example, of a night time because he wants his pre-bed wee. Then as soon as he runs out, it lights up the back garden for him to go and do what he needs to do. And I love that automation. And you can definitely get clever with that. You can start to link one thing into another, The Philps Hues, for example, we have up-down lighters across the front of the house, and they run off 3 different circuits. One is attached to the garage electrics, one is attached to a single socket in the front office, and then the other 2 are attached to this room. So completely different circuits, but all of them are turned on, and then using the Hue app, I've basically grouped all together. Bear in mind that's 10 bulbs because it's 5 individual up-down lights. 10 bulbs all grouped as a single light. And I've used the automation so that when the sun sets where I live, and so that time changes throughout the year because you tell the app where you live, it will turn on all 10 lights and then turn them back off again at 11 o'clock. Totally automatically. That happens every day and I don't have to do anything. And it only comes on when it's going dark because in summer it knows that's much later and it knows in winter it's much earlier and it just adjusts accordingly. So the smart element is really quite clever. While I've talked about smart lights and smart switches, I've very much referenced normal bulbs for smart lights, but it's worth noting there's some really cool specialist companies who make devices that also fall into the smart light bracket, but are quite unlike anything else you've seen. One of my favourites is Nanoleaf. This is their Aurora, and they make other products, and there are other companies doing very much the same. So don't just limit yourself to bulbs and switches. If you want to be a bit more creative, shop around. There's some really cool solutions out there. So yeah, that's it. Would I recommend them? Absolutely, 100%. The move to smart is definitely the right way to go. It just gives you more freedom. And also, a lot of them now, you can monitor your actual energy consumption, which is really interesting. The only limitation that would help you choose between whether it's a smart bulb or a smart switch is what you're putting in. If it's a regular, big selling bulb, I'd honestly go smart bulb, and that's what we've done here. But if you're going for something that's a little bit more obscure, such as this light, as you can see here, this isn't going to use nice big bulbs, it uses really small ones. There's no smart version of those available, in which case you have to go to using a smart switch. And I really like the combination of the two. It's dead easy to use, and the app, if you're using, say, the Apple Home app, doesn't differentiate between them. It just says, that room's light. It doesn't care that it's a Hue or a Lightwave or anything else. It just sees the light, and you can turn it on and off using the app. And I love that. Anyway, hope that's useful. I will go through other smart elements of the house. Actually, I'm going to kind of work around and do some videos on them just in case they're useful for people. If you want to see more of those, please do subscribe below. And of course, I would appreciate it if you liked the video and showed me your support. Helps me know that people are watching these, and I am still aspiring to 1,000 subscribers, so help me out. Okay, have a great day. Take care. Bye.